Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we are at property address 5901 Southeast Snowberry Court here in Hillsboro. We are located underneath the front decking. Well, I guess there's two cleanouts on this thing. So I'm going to describe this if you're standing in the street facing the front door. That's the current front door of the home, not the old front door, but the new version of it. We are directly underneath the front door of the house right now under the decking. So right through the man door here, you've got a 4-inch ABS clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. So I'm coming in here at the tail end of a home inspection right now. Tons and tons of water's been down this part of the line already. So I'm going to leave this portion dry, but I just realized I've got the kitchen sink running currently. Can hear the water coming through it, but that indicates there's a separate branch of pipe that comes out independently and ties into this thing. So we've got some standing water right here, and this is a natural state view of this. We don't have any running water right now to exaggerate things. So you've got some standing water here that starts right around 11 feet. So the flow line there is absolutely clean and clear of any debris buildup whatsoever. We'll revisit that on the way out. That one there is hovering right around the inch mark. And at about an inch of standing water is where I typically, for about 5 feet minimum with an inch of water, that's where I start to consider repair recommendations. But I always take it case by case. That depends on pipe material, the diameter of the sewer line, a few different factors. I'm also an evidence-based sewer scope guy. I've been doing this for 13 years now. I've cambered almost 25,000 sewer lines. And there's a lot of dynamics that play into how a belly is going to handle debris coming through the sewer line. So, when you take a belly like that, for instance, there's zero buildup in it that I can't even recommend a few dollars in drain cleaning on. I hesitate to recommend tearing a giant hole into the ground to fix it. So that's not to say that bellies can't theoretically lead to, or at least contribute to blockages, but in 4-inch large diameter plastic pipe like this, that smooth plastic pipe does a great deal to help mitigate buildup from occurring. So you put all those things together right now, I'm leaning towards not recommending a repair on that. If I can't even recommend you clean the sewer line, it's hard for me to justify thousands and thousands of dollars in repairs to fix something that I can't even see buildup on or hardly anything at all. Well, we did transition over to 4-inch 3034 PVC a moment ago. You can tell my camera had a little bit of trouble hopping that transition joint. We'll take a look at that as we come out to see what's going on there. There was a little bit of debris that was in front of my camera. It made it kind of hard to see what was going on. There's probably somewhat of an offset joint there. All right, and there's our main connection at about 105 feet. And someone's been flushing some garbage or something down the line here, some weird debris. All right, 105 feet. We're going to go locate. The line in this circumstance terminates directly into the manhole. All right, so the line terminates. There's a manhole that's basically straight out from the bottom of the driveway. Line terminates into that manhole, and based on the trajectory the line takes, the angle, I can look through the manhole and see my camera right now. Based on the angle it's running into the manhole, the line looks like it's, when I turn around and face back at the property, approximately the line's running down kind of the right side edge of the driveway, if not in the dirt to the right of the driveway, in that realm there. We'll pull back in here and take a look at this offset joint and see how that's looking. Anyway, you can see how in this line here, this is not, I'm not pointing this out to freak you out or anything, but you can see how you have some buildup, some films on the sidewall of the pipe there. So that's a long ways away from cleaning worthy, but you can see how there's actually some amount of something there. So, and there's no imperfections in the line here at all. So you go back and take a look at the belly. My guess is that part of the reason you have a lack of buildup is that this branch of pipe we're going through right now does not appear to service very much of the home. It looks like it's mostly just the basement area on this left side of the house. Whereas the right side clean out is going to probably be what handles the majority of the fixtures in the house on the top floor. You know, like right here, you've got some debris that goes all the way to the top of the pipe. That right there could be an indicator that a blockage happened at some point in the past. But again, no underlying issue ahead of that point that would actually cause that on its own. That would have been related to either someone flushing way too much stuff down the toilet, and or the other possibility is main laterals will back up. And cul-de-sac manhole conversions are by far the more finicky systems out there. If you get a neighbor, because you'll often have 2, 3, 4 homes all converging into one manhole, and manholes are essentially designed to gather debris because it's an easy location for a human to get down in there and clean stuff out. If you get a neighbor that's got a bad habit of putting wipes and paper towels down the line, they will build up in the manhole. And then you can get a manhole blockage that can back up multiple homes at once. And so sometimes you get some of this debris, like I was talking about when we were out further there near the main. Sometimes when you get built up that high up on the water line, sometimes it can be an indication that at some point in the past the main lateral backed up. So the debris buildup I'm seeing, you know, basically in the PVC and beyond is not really terribly meaningful stuff. You have an offset joint here. So as it relates to, you know, stuff that could potentially cause a problem, you know, bellies versus offsets. Offsets at least present a hard obstruction. You have an actual lip there for stuff to get hung up on. So I'm going to go locate. This is kind of a tricky one to hop over here at the angle we're coming into this. I'll try it and get a decent, if I can, a locate here now. It actually wants to flip my camera around backwards. Anyway, you've got a lip there that could potentially snag stuff. You know, on the left side there, you've certainly got a bigger lip than you do directly right down the middle of the flow line. But it's a spot where stuff could get hung up and block up. This is a more concerning thing than the belly because it's a hard obstruction. It's not malleable like standing water. Anyway, this is going to be somewhat of a rougher locate just because my camera head looks like it's somewhat bent in the pipe. It's not ideal to locate that way. There we go. I think May got it. Okay. That should do the job there. Alrighty, well, lucking out here pretty good. This is right next to where the garbage can storage spot is, next to the fence line. Only about 3 feet deep there. And that appears to all be under dirt. It's a small miracle. That's a very shallow hole to dig. So that is a good thing. That's one I'm going to recommend a fix on. As the line sits, it is still a functioning sewer line. But that does present a higher potential for a blockage to happen. Yeah, I don't know if this house was recently flipped. I've seen a few things throughout the line here that look like some construction debris got down line. That one there is a screw. And being that it's as small as it is, and my camera looks like it's completely pushed it out of the... I mean, belly or not, that thing is tiny, and it's almost no chance whatsoever that could ever cause a blockage. It's just too small. In a 4-inch pipe, it's taken up an extremely small percentage of the line there. Alright. So the belly here dissipates off just shy of 18 feet. I'm going to call it 18 feet just to make it easy. So and this belly here is just right barely at the top of my camera lens. So it's just right at an inch at its worst point here. So anyway, you have some thin debris at the top of the pipe here. As you can see when you come back to this point just before the belly, the top of the line here is quite clean. There's no thick buildup. It's possible this may have caused a blockage in the past, but I'm not seeing evidence here of recurring stuff over and over again. I am going to go see where it's at though. Now, I had a little bit of a sneaking suspicion that I'd find the belly where I thought it was going to be here. So where the belly is at, it spans the bottom of the staircase that leads up to the front door. You've got a big concrete pad there. The belly is underneath that. So even more so, in a scenario like this, what the cost to fix this alone is extreme, because it would require, I mean, you know, at the very least, you'd have to reroute the sewer line around that to try and reconfigure to avoid tearing the entire staircase out just about. That's all under the concrete at the base of the staircase. So looking at that from a cost benefits standpoint, again, there's not enough buildup in the line to even justify cleaning it. But you start adding things like that into the mix, potentially having to rip an entire staircase out that's sitting on a big concrete pad. That is too extreme in my opinion. Coupled with the fact the belly is right at that breaking point where I start to consider repairs. That is not what I'm going to recommend a fix on. It's a combination of, and when I say too minor, I don't mean it's rinky-dink, teeny tiny. You've certainly got a belly there, but it's not an extreme one. You don't have 4 inches of standing water in the line there, or anything of that sort. But it's too minor, and as well as far too expensive for the benefit gained, in my opinion, to justify something like that. Ripping the whole staircase out, it's just extreme. But that's what caused that. When they put that concrete pad over the top of it, that's what settled the line there. And the belly, basically, it spans just about the exact dimensions of that spot there. So pretty much starts and stops at the edges of the concrete pad. Anyway, I am going to recommend a fix, and I will notate that on the report. You know, in the event that plays into, for some reason, the only reason right now I recommend fixing that is if, in order to correct grade or something of that nature, to correct the offset, they had to take it back to that point. I think it's unlikely that's going to be necessary, but it'll still be on the report. The big thing when you have a belly in the sewer line, and this is more so for your bellies that are in old material like cast iron and concrete, where you get a coupling effect of rough pipe walls combined with standing water. That's a different combination. And this were, you know, for instance, cast iron pipe with a belly like this in it, I would feel a little differently about it. It's one where I would be recommending you fix it. In smooth plastic pipe, by and large, about the only scenario you're going to see that potentially acting up on you is under abusive situations, and typically a consistency of that, where you've got, you know, day in and day out, people are flushing improper stuff down the line. So I think it's very unlikely, if you're treating this line correctly, putting folded toilet paper down it, no grease wipes, paper towels, tampons, flushable wipes, junk like that, it's unlikely that's ever going to cause a problem at all. And as it sits right now, there's zero buildup in it. It looks like maybe a blockage occurred in the past, but again, it was likely related to a combination of the belly coupled with improper stuff going down the sewer line. But the buildup that's there is very, very thin. It's not the kind of buildup you expect to see when something is causing recurring issues over and over. Even if it was once a year, I'd feel a little differently about it if we had very thick buildup in there, enough to even recommend a few $100s in drain cleaning on it, but we're not even at that point yet. So, or as it sits right now. We're going to go ahead and move over to the other sewer line here. You know, the offset joint, obviously I recommend a fix on. As the line sits, you know, in totality here, it is a functioning sewer line. It is draining slower than it should, partially due to the belly, but my bigger concern, and when I say that, I'm more concerned as it relates to the offset joint, which creates a hard obstruction. It's a much more likely spot for stuff to get hung up.